Welcome to See What She Can Do Conversations. I'm Tina.
And I'm Caroline.
And we're on a mission to make this world a more inclusive, kinder place by uniting women around the power of sport.
So we would love to welcome you to our show. Thanks for being here with us.
Tune in each week as we talk to change makers, community builders, and really everyday awesome people in the world of sport.
And there's so much great stuff happening. We're excited just to showcase it. Each week we're together.
Hi, I'm Tina Finelli. I'm here with See What She Can Do Conversations, the podcast. I'm co-founder of See What She Can Do, and I'm also here with my co-host, Lisa Dunbar. Lisa Dunbar is a fellow sport lover. She's an important part of our See What She Can Do team, and she's a friend, and we're really happy to have her here. Our guest today is Erin Hamilton. Erin is a real community builder. She's got a real passion for sport as well, as she's been playing sport all of her life as a little kid through school as well as through community sport. And that really kind of ignited a passion for her where she pursued sport in a career. Erin's working with the Town of Aurora right now, where she's making all kinds of great impact on inclusion and diversity for women and girls. And we're really excited to talk to her today. She's going to open up the curtains a bit and show us what's been happening behind the scenes with sport providers during COVID and how they're preparing to help us get back to sport. Some are already there. She'll also give us some practical tips on how to get ourselves back to doing the things we love to do from a physical activity standpoint. So welcome, Erin.
Great. Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here today.
So fun. So great.
Yeah. Yes.
We're excited to have you too, actually, and pretty excited to have this conversation. So I'm going to actually get things started and ask you your first question. We've seen this pandemic has really taken a toll on many, and specifically around, we saw sport come to a real grinding halt and physical activity in some cases. I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the impact of COVID in communities and as it relates to people's physical activity and organized sport, and help us understand why we all need to remain active and how we can participate.
Excellent. So, as you said, for many, sport came to that grinding halt. So what they have traditionally participated in stopped really quickly for many, with no time to plan or think about what this means. And they've been doing the activities that they love and have participated in for many years. All of a sudden, it's not available to them anymore, and having to adjust and sort of rethink how they were going to move forward has been difficult for many, and has been really a big challenge to sort of think, okay, what am I going to do next? How am I going to engage, and how am I going to participate? So for some, sport has started to be cut back up and running. The delivery model is different, which is a change for many, and adapting to change and sort of being able to learn about what that means for them, and anticipating that it's going to be like this for an extended period of time, that it's not going to be sort of, okay, for the next 4 weeks, I have to adopt and accommodate change. This is going to be for the extended period. And so what does it mean for my family? What does it mean for me? And so many through the process have gone out and found during that time they weren't able to participate in their traditional sports, found alternative ways to be active. And we can talk a bit as we go on and share some examples of that. And some have decided to return to their activities as they've opened up in a revised format, and found that it has actually been great for them, their families, and the revised format has been okay.
You actually have a great example of your son, right? How he's back to play with baseball.
Yeah, so he's gone back. My son, who's 10, gone back to his baseball practices. They've only done practices so far, and I tell you, the laughter and excitement out on the field when they returned, the changes that were made to make sure it was a safe environment actually has not had any negative impact on their participation. They were just so happy to be out there
Yeah.
together,
Yeah, it's
very
great.
aware of what's going on. And they created a little thing amongst their team where they yelled the number 6 if at any point somebody was getting too close to one another, they were within
Yeah,
six
great.
feet, or just need to reevaluate the scene. And it actually was really sort of a light and an easy way to manage this change that they have gone back into on the baseball field. And whether it's the coach, whether it's a player, everybody wanted everybody to feel safe,
Yeah.
comfortable. And it was like instant 6, everybody stops, looks around. Okay, do I need to step back a bit? But in a very comfortable, non-stressful way for the kids.
Yeah, they just
And I
want to
tell you,
participate, right?
yeah, and they're so
Yeah,
excited to be
yeah,
back out there.
yeah.
And every day my son wakes up, is it baseball today?
Oh, that's so
And
fantastic.
it's almost like this is a new norm. It's like, I like, sure, there's some things. Would he love to be playing games on a daily basis and have all of that? He didn't, but he's okay with it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's great. And
Yeah.
just the fact that he's back out there interacting and doing something he loves
yeah,
Yeah.
has had such a positive impact. And I know that's not just for him. On the team, and talking to
Yeah.
all the parents, they're just so happy, and even parents, to
I was
sort
going
of
to
get
say
out
that.
with their
yeah,
kids. And obviously following all the rules of social distancing, we're limiting the number of parents that are out there watching, but just to get back out and even see their kids in that
Yeah.
environment
yeah,
has been really beneficial for parents as
Yeah.
well.
The joy of sport will always shine through, right? And
yeah,
physical activity for
yeah.
everybody, right?
And
You see their
Ex-
smiling faces. And,
exactly. Well, and I've had a similar experience. Erin, you and I have spoken about it with going back to CrossFit. That's kind of one of my sports. And, the anxiety initially of getting back and what to expect. And, our box, the CrossFit Aurora Central, was really good at putting out communication around what they're doing from a safety protocol standpoint to make sure that they're compliant with all the safety protocols. And so the first time you go in with a mask and you stand in your little box and you're kind of like, what does this look like? But eventually, like your kids did, we start to hold each
Yeah.
other accountable, like,
Yeah.
don't forget, put your mask back on, and don't forget, spray that down. And then it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And then we're doing the things we love again. Different isn't bad, it's just different.
It's your new normal,
Yeah,
right?
it's our new normal.
Yeah.
So great.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, Erin, we also, as people start to consider going back, I mean, I, shared with you a little bit about my anxiety, a little bit of anxiety about going back indoors and, what that new normal was going to look like. I know I was more comfortable with the communication that came from my provider, my sport provider, and I was able to have conversations with them before I came back. Can you give some tips to other people, maybe to some of our listeners, around the sorts of things that they can be asking their sport provider to make sure that they have the confidence that they're being provided with a safe environment and that all the safety protocols are in place so that they can get back to doing all the great things they love to do?
Definitely. So I think you sort of nailed it there, is being familiar with the environment that you're going back into, both from the perspective of you as an individual, your family feeling comfortable with what you're stepping into, as well as ensuring that you as an individual are following the safety protocols that are being put in place, so everybody around you and yourself are safe. I think there's a lot of great things that are happening out there amongst our sport organizations, municipalities, fitness clubs, to be able to share and make information readily available. Some are doing videos so people can visually see what they can expect when they walk into a facility. There's a lot that are posting information on their website. But it's really critical, if you can't find the information you need, and even if you have seen it something, to reach out to organizations. They want to hear from you. They want to answer your questions and be able to ensure that you have the information you need to make informed decisions. And so when you are considering going back out, possibly for your first time or going from one environment to the next, there's lots of great questions you can ask. I'm going to share a couple of questions to consider. It's not limited to these questions, but as a starting point, be familiar, ask about what their mask policy is. So obviously within York Region, there's a requirement to wear masks in indoor spaces. But there is also the piece about when you're physically active, you don't need to have a mask on. But in some situations, as an example, my son's baseball team, when the boys, when the players are up to bat, they wear a mask. And so does the catcher. They're within a smaller distance with one another for a short period of time. It's very short. But in those situations, so you're familiar with that. Our parents and guardians, so if you're signing your kid up, are you allowed to stay and watch? Do they have space to do so? What are the rules around it? Or in some cases, programs are opening back up where parents must be involved in the program. So if it's younger kids where practicing physical distancing may be a bit more difficult to implement, it may be a requirement that parents actually stay and participate with their child.
How much fun will that be?
Yeah. Well, I remember playing those soccer games where I was going child against parent, and they quickly overtook any skill I had in soccer.
But also, like, the kids sometimes love when the parent comes out and plays, and but as well, just again, it ensures that level of environment. So those that are delivering the program, they're taking it to that stage where they're ensuring it's a safe environment for all. And then parents can be familiar with what's going on out on the field of play or in a gymnasium, whatever it may be. Ask about what type of training they're providing to staff or volunteers so that they're familiar with when they go out, because in a lot of cases, you're dropping your kids off, you may be able to stay and watch, but there's individuals out there that are running the programs, and many are providing great training and resources and support to those that are on the ground delivering programs to make sure that they're prepared and they're comfortable with what they're doing, they're knowledgeable about what they're doing. What types of things are organizations putting in place to ensure people do physically distance? So are there markings on the floor? Are they setting out cones? So I know in some cases with some programs, whether it be dance programs or karate programs, taping boxes on the floor or taping markers on the floor, and their child has to stay within a certain space to ensure that they don't cross over. And that's what they're familiar with.
That's great for all. That's great for adults too. We're experiencing that with my CrossFit box. We've got arrows and taped taped boxes on the floor. It just helps you visually remember, right? This is where you need to be.
The visual, and it's a constant reminder. What changes are there to the traditional rules? So in a lot of cases, there have been adaptations for people's safety to traditional rules. So become familiar with what those are, so that you can know and communicate and be familiar with when you're going in. Ask a bit about equipment. So how is that being managed? In some cases, individuals have to bring their own equipment. Or in some cases, there is minimal sharing of equipment. So what's the cleaning practices that are happening in between? Or an individual has their own set of equipment that belongs to a club or an organization that's dedicated to them for that practice or session, and then they're cleaning it in between the next use. So they may not have to bring their own, but they have a dedicated set of equipment, as an example. And then asking a bit about policies. There's been a lot around policy creation to talk about if there is a positive case, or if you feel sick or somebody feels sick, what's the policy around participation and how is that communicated out? So asking that information is going to build some comfort, but also create you an environment where you're familiar with what you're required to do. And some examples out there, and a lot of sport organizations or teams are running virtual meetings prior to going out onto the field, so they can walk through, and even allowing kids to ask questions. So we as parents are asking questions, but if you're able to sort of get your kids together, if it's a set team that's coming out for the first time, what kind of questions do you have as kids?
It's a great idea.
There's a lot of things running through their mind. So what types of questions do you have? So ask if they're running something like that, just to be able to help you prepare to go back out on the field of play.
That's very cool. There's of course going to be some anxiety, and we're talking constantly about just the importance of communications, like good, clear, simple, but clear communications to alleviate any of the like guessing from things where you can, so that you can help reduce some of that anxiety and get people, like, let them be excited about a return to play, whatever that looks like, right? It's very
Absolutely.
cool.
And yeah, and because in many cases, this may be sort of your first organized activity
Yeah.
or organized activity that you've gone out to do. People haven't returned to school yet. People haven't returned to necessarily their work environment. So this may be the first outside of shopping that you've needed to do for your family. And in a lot of cases, kids have not been out shopping. So this is their first as well, or first for anybody participating. And so really becoming familiar and breaking down what you can expect so that you do address any anxiety, or I think we all are. It's sort of like, okay, this is the first time. And just even, I think for some, it's like anxiety about, I have to follow these rules and I don't want to do something wrong. And once they get into the rhythm, it just sort of is natural, and it doesn't take long for it to become that new norm. And this is the way it is. And it's that initial, like, I'm stepping out onto a field of play or in a gym or a program. And depending on the age of a child or for adults in particular, they're aware of what's happening around them.
Yeah, and we'll all hold each other. I mean, I think the great news, looking at your example of your son as a younger child in sport, and, me as an adult, you get into the rhythm of helping each other stay accountable so that we can keep the program we're in running because we love it. Right? Yep. Nobody wants these things to shut back down again. We all want to participate in the physical activity that we love so much. Yeah. So I think it's important to remember as well that when you do get back, that it's okay. Like, you may slip up, but there are people there to help, and people that have been there already that can help you, figure out how to navigate it all.
Yeah. Even like I'm an adult, but when I'm back, I'm excited to get back to the sport that I love. Yeah. So you kind of you forget. Yeah. So I think everyone needs to have patience and tolerance for people to just be excited and to forget.
Exactly.
And I think and I'm thrilled to see things starting to slowly reopen. And it's for me, for my kids, for my friends, and it's amazing. And maybe Erin, maybe you could share with us some of the programs that you see in the town of Aurora that are opening up. And we talk a lot about reimagining what sport and physical activity looks like, whether it's competitive, organized, or just straight up plain physical activity. We talk about reimagining what it looks like a lot. Can you give us some examples through the town of Aurora as we reopen?
Definitely. So a lot of time and energy behind the scenes, whether it's the town of Aurora or sport organizations, reimagining and what is a safe way to reopen. We all know it needs to, in a safe way, and for the mental health of our community as a whole, physical fitness for our community as a whole. Yeah. So be open to change and be willing to adapt to the new environments. And a lot of time and energy has gone into looking at how do we do this in a safe way, but a fun way. Yeah. And so we can continue to get people involved. And so as some examples, the town itself has slowly been reopening. So both from the perspective of some programming and facilities, but also opening up our facilities for outdoor users to come in and use. And the town's been cautious and really looked at all elements to make sure that when people do return, they're doing so in a safe way. So as an example, our first opening was our pool facility, one of our pool facilities. And so there was a lot of pieces implemented in terms of going in and out of the facility. So there was no crossover of individuals. Mm-hmm. Flow of traffic was considered in terms of when you come into the facility. Then when you're on the pool deck, it's one-way traffic. So people aren't crossing over when they're actually in the pool. One individual per lane. So traditionally in a lane swim, you'll see multiple people in one lane. Now it's one person per one lane. You have to book in advance. It's all booking in advance, so we know exactly who's coming into our facility at any time that it's open. We've also opened aquafit classes. Again, limited number, people have to space out when they're in the pool. So some examples where lane swimming, you have adults, aquafit, you have adults. We've got some varying ages doing the lane swimming, but then we also have some of our traditional user groups back in the pool to be able to run some of their programs, and they have very detailed policies and procedures in place and plans to ensure that they're following practices. And then we're going to talk a bit more in a bit about some of the programming that's happened and within the town to be able to open it up to our community members, children and youth. But our ice facilities have also opened, so we have lots of our user
That's
groups.
what we love.
Makes my son very happy.
So we have women's hockey back out on the ice, and I've been talking to Central York Girls Hockey Association, and they say their return has been fantastic.
It has been overwhelming, honestly. I'm on the email list because my daughter started back last Sunday. And as she came out, I thought, I'm going to let her have her thing because she's now in the 18 plus group. And so she's now joining, she's gone from competitive hockey to joining Women's House League. And so I thought, I'm going to let her have her own thing. They've opened back up. And then she came out. I'm like, forget that. I'm going back next week. It just looked so fun. They came back just rosy and so happy to be there.
Yeah. And they did. Yeah. And so that's where you're seeing. So what you're seeing is some gaps again between ice bookings to ensure that as one group comes in, does their hockey, they're gone before the next group comes in. Yeah. Limited access to dressing rooms. Everybody's expected to come dressed, as an example, for ice users for hockey. So you're just going in to put your skates on, you're distancing within the dressing room, you're getting on the ice. And even when people come into the facility, they have to have a mask on until they put their helmet on and get on the ice.
It's like you're a tyke coming back in fully dressed.
That's
like
right.
Totally getting out of cars with their equipment on. It's awesome.
But I think it's like we've been 5 months, which some days it feels like a whole lot longer than that. But I think one thing that we've gotten very good at is practicing patience. And I think people just practice your patience, right?
Yeah.
And
accepting that in order for us to get back, we need to do things differently, and that's okay.
Oh yeah,
I'm okay wearing my stuff driving to the arena. Or putting my pants on just outside because it's hard to, drive
I'll tell
the
you,
car.
driving home from the rink with a 17-year-old that is in his gear, having just
Not
taken
so
only
fun.
his skates off, totally different experience. Just going to say.
It is, right? But people have been so receptive to the change.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's critical to make it a positive experience. Accept the change, embrace it, and run with it. And then for the experience for everybody involved is so positive, and you're out there and you just feel so good. I was talking to a dad that is sort of a men's league, and the team always went out, and he hasn't been on the ice for so long, and he said it just felt so good. But he's like I tripped over the blue line, like I had to skate, but he was like, it was hilarious. Like, it was just so fun. And then you just get back into the rhythm of it and everything like that. So the end result is worth the change, and it's okay. And you're seeing a lot more common practices around regular hand washing. Yeah. We talked about the markers, limited to no sharing of equipment. All of those things are being put in place as an added element to ensure safety of those involved. So, and those that are running programs have been really great to adapt. Where we're still seeing sort of a slow transition back is your traditional gymnasium sports, obviously. There'll be a delay, but then some of those are adapting by taking their programs outside, enjoy the nice weather, and run some of their programs outside, which is a great space. We're seeing lots of cleaning of high touch point areas, entrances, exits. So all of those things are being put in place within the facilities that are being used, as well as the organizations that are using the facilities. So it's great. So there's things that are opening up, some that are sort of coming to the end of what their summer season would be, and they really got sort of 6 weeks out there and embraced it, and were quite happy with it how it was in the end. The kids had a chance to develop, some that are just starting to open up. So everybody's at a different stage, but everybody's been working hard to make sure that it's safe and really been a benefit to those that are back out on the field of play or in the gym or whatever it may be. And the town fitness center is opening next Monday for the first time, so you're going to see a lot of
Yay.
our fitness users back out there, and they're quite excited as well.
That's
and again,
awesome.
Putting great practices in play.
So, Erin, you mentioned that there are programs that are being taken outdoors because the indoor option isn't yet available. One of those programs is the Play in the Park series that the Town of Aurora hosts. Do you want to give us just a one-liner, a headliner on what that looks like? Because we're going to call in Cindy Shaver, and she's a mom of two whose children actually participated in that program. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about what that was like getting back into the program, the impact of COVID overall on her and her family, and how getting out there has really been a positive thing for her. Do you just want to give us a one-liner before we call out to Cindy?
Sure, yeah. So our Play in the Park program was an opportunity to get children and youth out and be able to participate in a variety of programs throughout the month of August. So you could sign up for one, you could sign up for 3 different themes, from sport to arts to nature. You came out, spent 45 minutes outside in a park facility where you had a chance to do activities at a physically distant space and connect with other people in the community. And it the uptake and the response has been phenomenal, and all the programs have sold out, and it's been really beneficial to get some of our community members back out in programs within the town.
Well, we've been pretty blessed to have some amazing weather, so those outdoor programs, I'm sure, have really benefited by the fact that it's not thunderstorming every day.
And some of that transition too, right? If people are anxious,
we've had fantastic weather.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And if people are anxious, it's a bit of a smoothing into the new normal of indoor sport too.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm just gonna give Cindy a call here.
Fantastic, we're dialing out.
And we'll dial her in.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Hi, Cindy. Welcome to the show. You're here with Tina, Lisa, and we have Erin from the Town of Aurora on the line.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, good morning.
Thanks so much for joining our show. We've been talking to Erin over the last few minutes about what's happening in the Town of Aurora as things start to reopen and people start to get back into the things we so love to do as we move our bodies. We understand, Cindy, that you're a mom of 2 and that you joined one of the Town of Aurora programs, the Play in the Park series, this summer. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the impact of COVID-19 on your family and what made you decide to get your kids back into play? Organized play, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like so many of us, it's been a struggle, I guess, in adapting to this sort of new way of life. And I've got an 11-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so managing that dynamic where they want to be active and they want to be out and around their peers, and I'm not being able to do that was tough. So definitely, as soon as we were able to, we were looking for those options. So my older son, got back into his organized sports. But what I was finding is that while lots of sports and opportunities were reopening, there was this void for my youngest. Mm-hmm. And she's 3 and she's still trying to develop, her coordination, her gross motor skills, all of those important things.
All the social aspect too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I was looking, and I've been looking because my son was out getting to do all these fun things. And I'm like, but my daughter can't do any of this. And then the town opened up this Play in the Park series, and it was such a godsend, really.
Amazing.
She's done a couple of them and has really enjoyed them. And I'm hoping that they're going to do more.
Yay. Now, what did that experience look like? What were, at the top of your mind, what was different about this program that might have, it might have been different a few months ago, pre-March, right?
So definitely there's obviously the constraints, like the I'm losing my word. But I guess it's that they're having to keep distance.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely the safety procedures that are in place to ensure that. So, making sure that we're checking in, having that safety checklist when I'm coming with my daughter, sanitizing our hands before we go in, and then maintaining that distance throughout the program, which I thought would be strange, but it wasn't as strange as you might think.
Yeah, that's
the
great.
Kids didn't seem to even notice.
Yeah.
And I thought that they might try to gravitate towards each other because they're young. There wasn't any of that. Parents were participating. So I guess they, so my daughter tended to come towards me versus versus other kids. So I think that helped. But everyone sort of maintained their distance. It's out in the park, so you're getting the fresh air.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They've got that large canopy area that if it were to rain, that there was shelter there, that they could still have that program. Overall, I thought it was really well done.
Awesome. And how is that program? Like, do you think it's helped her emotionally and you really as a parent, because you're getting out there too, right? How has it kind of helped your mental health to be out there?
Oh, definitely for me, it's been great. Like, as much as I love to play with my daughter, it's totally different when you get to be a participant and watch her enjoying someone else leading. Leading her through all sorts of different activities, and then also learning from their peers, even though they can't necessarily get close to their peers, they're around other kids their age, which I think is so good for their own well-being. And then for me, absolutely just not having to have that pressure of having to be the one delivering the activity, and being able to just sort of sit back and enjoy.
That's a really great point, because as we're all at home with all of our kids, whether they're young or university age adult children, it's nice to have that break to be able to just be a part of it without having to organize anything, right?
Yeah. And they learn from they get to watch each other and learn different styles from each other, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. So what are you doing for yourself, Cindy? Is there anything on your plate? Like, are you starting to get involved? It doesn't have to be organized, but one of the questions that we ask our guests typically is kind of, what's your favorite thing to do, and from an physical activity standpoint, and what are you doing during this crazy time of COVID to kind of move your body?
So physical activity has always been a big part of my life. So I was going to the gym prior to COVID, and obviously I stopped that. The gyms have opened up again, but I haven't gotten there yet. So I've been doing a lot of virtual classes.
That's great.
Which have been great. But the exercise is key. I think it's really helped me to be able to handle the situation and be okay being at home so much, right? Once you move your
stress.
body, you just feel better ready to tackle the day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. We're really thrilled to have you here. And we hope to see you visit us on See What She Can Do, because there's all kinds of programs and organizations on our website as well, where we're helping to showcase the great things that are happening in this community and beyond. So we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye, Cindy.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks. So
back to Erin.
Back to Erin.
So we're coming up to September, and for kids of all ages, school's looking very different. Physical activity, as some kids are starting to participate again in their organized or non-organized sport. They're getting to use fields, but I think about everything will look different for kids in school who may or may not actually be physically attending school, and even for the families. Mm-hmm. How do we ensure or make sure that people continue to be physically active? Because we've talked this morning all about the benefits of that. How do we keep to reimagine how we can stay active as we live through this next phase?
Yeah, of the world opening
definitely.
back up. Yeah.
I know, right? And as you said,
for all of us, right? All the family, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And as we get to the stage where kids are returning to school in different formats, mm-hmm. whether it's in person or whether it's online, it's going to be another element that families are working through. But continuing to keep the kids active during that time can also be beneficial in supporting them through that transition as well, just to give them an avenue to sort of sort of be out there, be active, and burn some energy, whatever it may be. So take some time to do some research, whether it's looking into what you have done in the past and learning about how that's going to change and does that fit for your family, or be open to trying new things. And I think there's a lot of people that have tried new things that they would not normally have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a result of COVID. And so look out, check things out, like go to the town website, go to the website of the sport organizations, visit platforms such as SeeWhatSheCanDo, where there's tons of opportunities listed there where it outlines sport providers, where people share stories. You may learn about opportunities by reading other people's stories.
Absolutely.
And you may be able to connect with people. And so I think that's a critical piece, is be open to change, and ask those questions. So I talked earlier about what types of questions to ask. Ask the questions, do some research, spend some time, because in the end, you want to be comfortable. And there's a lot of things out there that people are doing that are available and available in multiple formats. Some of our organizations or even fitness classes are still doing online, or doing outdoor and doing indoor. So even within where you think, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready to go back to a gym, there may be other opportunities that exist within that same gym to do something.
Yeah, the shift is you've got to actively look.
Right? So
it's interesting that you say that.
And you don't even realize, you just sort of think like, I'm not going to go back to what I was doing before. Well, in many cases, there's adaptations to that. And so you need to be comfortable and you need to get the background information for you to be able to make an informed decision, and don't feel pressure to go back right away. Spend the time looking into things and feel like, okay, I can return when I'm ready. And if you're not ready to necessarily return to what you traditionally did, what are some other things that I may be able to do in the meantime where I can still be active? And I think that's important, is remembering the benefits of being active. And so whether it's just taking like an hour out of your day and going for a walk, or going for a bike ride, or whatever it may be, and if that's what fits for you right now, that works.
Yeah, you might have to do a little bit of homework, right?
Right.
You might have to do a little bit of homework to find out what you love, and then get doing it. And as parents, my kids are a little older, but like it's a reminder to them, which you probably wouldn't have thought to do before. My kids are going back to school physically, but what sport and physical activity looks like at the school is very different. Right. So they will need to do a little bit of their own homework to find what is comfortable for them. Right. And as a parent, I may need to find myself in a place to go, gentle reminder, you've been in school all day, the half day, and for the other half, you've been online. Yeah. You need to get up and move.
Go move.
Right?
Exactly.
Go.
Your feet are getting numb. It's time to get up and start moving.
You got to do a little bit of homework, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And so what that is, each individual, each family needs to find the right fit for them. And I think what's critical is we all need to support one another too. I agree. In the decisions that everybody makes about what the best avenue is for their family. So let's share, let's learn from one another, and let's support one another in their return to physical activity, whether it's already happened or whether they're just now sort of starting to get back in and try new things. So let's all support one another in that, and what's right for one is not necessarily right for the other. So everybody needs to do what's right and what they feel comfortable and safe doing. And so I think that's critical. We are excited that the Play in the Park programs are going to continue through the month of September. So again, knowing that kids are back into school in some format, they'll take place on weekday evenings and weekends. And again, it's not you need to commit for an extended period of time. You sign up for one, or you could sign up for multiple, and there's different themes to them. So that's an example where we are, because of the response that we received, and it was well received and really was a positive experience for those involved. We're going to continue them in September. as an example where we're sort of reinventing and open to change.
Well, thank you so much for all the work that the Town of Aurora is doing in our community, and we're really grateful for your leadership. We're going to sign off today, but before we go off the line, we wanted to make sure our listeners know that you're back again next time to talk a little bit more about how you're showcasing as a town female leaders in our community. So Erin will join us next time. So make sure you tune in for the next episode. And we also ask all of our guests the same question. And since you're our first guest, our first very real guest for our podcast, you'll be the first to answer this question.
No pressure.
Yeah. So our question is, what do you love to do from an active living standpoint? And how are you moving your body through this crazy COVID pandemic time?
Yeah. So for me, there's nothing better than an early morning run. So peace and quiet, a bit of me time, and seeing like a sunrise first thing in the morning and lots of fresh air for me is a great way to sort of give myself some energy for the rest of the day and just to get out and sort of just listen to some good music. So for me, it's a good morning run, but I also have to say that we've done a lot as a family as a result of COVID in terms of being active. So where we would traditionally have each of our own individual activities, we are now going out for regular walks, bike rides, swimming in the pool together, playing basketball out on
It really is amazing to see groups of families walking down the street. Like I've never seen like moms, dads, kids, dogs. Like usually it's mom and dad or, or an individual, doesn't have to be a mom or a dad, but you rarely would see whole families of people walking down the street. And at first you're like, oh, it must be a family, a family festivity, but now it's commonplace. So I think we're starting to see that trend. I think it's really positive to see families doing stuff together, right?
Yeah. And to find that time for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I do want to just comment before we do sign off that I was very excited to be here, and please visit SeeWhatSheCanDo as a platform. So many great opportunities to connect with others, which is always important and now more than ever. And there's so many great resources and information on there. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing to connect people in the community, because it's vital for us to continue to do so as we move through this time.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Erin. And we look forward to chatting with you on our next episode.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Have a great one.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.